Many people turn to Jesus through a crisis, either a personal problem in their own lives, health or some other issue, or a global issue. I think of the economic downturn of a few years back, and now, of course, the global pandemic that we're encountering. It's in these times that many people come to Jesus Christ, but that just reinforces the accusation that Christianity is really for weak people who can't cope with life. And that brings us to chapter 9 of this book, a book that I'm revisiting, having written it a few years ago with a friend of mine. I'm looking back through these chapters as we're going through this coronavirus pandemic. And this is chapter 9. Isn't faith just a psychological crutch? Isn't faith just for weak people who can't cope with life? Well, the answer to that question is yes and no. Yes, it is for weak people. Jesus himself says it's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick. Healthy people don't go to a doctor unless, of course, they're hypochondriacs. Healthy people stay away from the doctor. It is only sick people who need the doctor. And Dr. Jesus' diagnosis of all of us is that we are all sick. We're all sinful, to use the Bible word. We all have turned away from God. We really are in need of help. We cannot restore our relationship with God ourselves. And so we do need to go to Dr. Jesus to get made well. So is Christianity just for weak people? Yeah, we're all weak when it comes to our relationship with God. But on the other hand, no, it isn't. Jesus said, if anyone would come after me, he must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. When he talked about taking up his cross in the first century, it didn't mean just having a little sniffle of a cold or a difficult boss at work. So often we say, oh, we all have our crosses to bear. No, when he talked about taking up his cross, when he said it, it meant going to your death. And he said, if you're going to follow me, you've got to be prepared to die. And ever since he said that, people all over the world, all over the globe who followed him, have indeed been ready to suffer and even die for him. Now look, if you're a weak person, you're not going to do that. It is a remarkable thing that people have shown great integrity in their belief in him and great resolve to keep following him even unto death. You don't do that if you're a weak person. But what about the rest of the question? Isn't faith just a psychological crutch? It's not just saying, aren't you just weak if you come to Jesus? But what about faith? Well, look, faith is a much misunderstood word when it comes to Christianity in the Bible. But faith in the Bible is based on fact. Right at the end of John's Gospel, John writes these words. He says, these things, that is, all the miracles that Jesus has done, these things are written that you may believe or have faith. You may believe that Jesus is the Christ, and that by believing, having faith, you might have life in his name, eternal life. What John is doing there is he's saying, read back through my gospel, read back through all the words that I've written, and you will have evidence. I've written down things that happened to Jesus, things that he said, the miracles he did. I've written all that down so that you have evidence to believe. These things are written that you may believe. So faith is not believing in things that we don't know. Faith is believing in things that we do know, things that have been written down. So faith is not a psychological crutch. It's not psychological at all. It's actually based on something that is factual, historical facts from the Bible. Well, I hope that's helpful. You can get a copy of this book, an e-book copy of this book, by going to the publisher, the Good Book Company. And if you put in the search, if you could ask God one question, e-book, then you can get a free copy until the end of June.